Hello and welcome back everyone to our Python tutorial series. In our previous video, we've set up our coding environment and we've also written our first Python code. In today's lesson, we're diving into one of the most important foundations of Python programming, variables and data types. What are variables? So just think of variables as containers where you store information. So imagine you walking into your kitchen and you see different jars on the shelf. One jar has coffee, sugar, the other one has peanut butter, and the other one jam, right? So each jar has something different, but you can always open it and check what's actually inside the jar, right? That's exactly what variables are in Python. The variables are just like containers that store different kinds of data. So in our own case here, the variables are what? The coffee jar, the sugar jar, the peanut butter jar, and the jam jar here in this case. So the jars are what? Are the variables because they are storing what? Data in them. So the data are what? The different content here. Either the coffee, the sugar, the peanut butter, and the jam. So these are the data. Okay, so variables is just like a container that is storing what? A data. Okay, so we've seen what variables are, and we said variables actually store data, right? So what type of data are stored in these variables? This is what data types are. A data type is the type of data you are storing inside the variable. So let's see something here. So these are different jars here, 4 different jars. As you can see, below each jar is what is the different data types that we have in Python. We have the int, we have the string, we have the float, we have the boolean. So when is a data said to be an int? This int is a short form for integer, okay? So when is a data said to be of type integer? Integers are whole numbers, right? Example, 10 minus 5, 1000 minus 9, any whole number is said to be an integer, right? So when you're storing any of this inside a variable, then you're storing what? A data of type int. Now, if I store this value 2 inside this jar, it means I am storing what value? I'm storing the value 2 of which data type? Data type int. Okay, now what about strings? Strings are text in quotes. Okay, they are enclosed within quotes. Okay, so this tells Python that yes, this is a string. Okay, so anything you're writing as far as it's a text is considered a string. Example, hello, right? This is a string as it is enclosed within what? Within quotation. Okay, so now what of floats? Floats are decimal numbers with decimal points. These are floats. Okay, 1.2, 3.5, 8.9, 3.14, all these are floats. So when you're storing such kind of value inside a variable, that data you're storing is of what type? Is of type float. Okay, that's float. How about boolean? Well, boolean actually takes 2 states. It's either true or false. So any case where you're having something that is either true or false, then that's what? That's a boolean. Okay, example, 2 is greater than 1. That is true, right? So that's boolean. Or 1 is greater than 2. That's false. Then that's boolean as well. So these are the most common data types that we use in Python. Okay, so now I believe we all understood this basic concept of variables and data types, right? So let's go ahead and see how we can write these things in Python code. Okay, so let's head over to our Visual Studio Code. Okay, so now let's create a new file. So as you can see, I'm still in my Python series. So we create a new file. I'm going to name it variables.py. So don't forget the extension. So let's try and create a variable. So let's say age. I can say length. Length is also a variable, right? We can say height, right? These are all variables. So, but there is something you need to put into consideration whenever you are creating a variable. Variables do not start with a number, meaning you cannot say 1 height. No, you can't start a variable like this. As you can see, it's even showing in red. You can't. Okay, so but you can start with an underscore and height here is okay. And if you have two words that you want to combine as a variable name, let's say person height, for instance, so you cannot do it like this. So to merge these two words, you use an underscore. So person height. So this is going to be considered as what? A variable, the whole of it. Okay, so now how do we assign these values to these variables? Now that we have age, which is the variable, which is the container, we have length, which is another container, we already talked about this, we have height, which is another container. How do we add the data inside? So age, we use the equality sign. Let's say age is equals to 10, right? So I'm assigning what? 10 to what? To age. Meaning that the variable age is now storing the value 10, right? Height, let's say 12.5. It can be centimeter, meters, anything, right? So 12.5. So this is what? This is a float. Now we are assigning what? 12.5 to length, right? So 12.5 is what? Is a float because it has a decimal point. That's the data type. While age is what? Is having an integer. So in Python, you don't need to explicitly state the data type. Python will handle that automatically. It knows. Unlike other programming languages where you need to declare the type of data that that variable is storing. So in this case, we don't need to do that. Python detects automatically. So let's say for the height, I have 20.5 as well. So these are all variables, and these variables are having what? Their values now, right? Now that we have these variables, it means I can call and use them anywhere in my program. So assuming age here, I want to see the value of age. If I say print, and then in this bracket, I put the variable, which is age here, right? And I also want to print length. So I'll just say print, and I will say length, the variable name, and also print the height. Or instead of height, let me use another variable to talk about strings. So let's say name, right? So since it's a string, I will use double quotes, and let's say Grace, right? So here I will now say print, and I will say name here. So if I should run this, don't forget you save. To run this file, we'll say Python, our file name, which is variables.py, and we run it. Now, okay, so it says print. Okay, I made a mistake here, so it's supposed to be print. So we save. So here you clear your screen, and then you run it again. Okay, so as you can see now, we have the different data types. The different data printed 10. We have 12.5, which is our float. We have what? We have Grace, right? So this is basically what the variables and data types are. So let's see how we can assign data of type boolean, right? So assuming I have, let's say, is student, I'm checking if someone is a student. I will say true. That person, yes, is a student. So if I want to check is, assuming I'm straight checking if the person is a graduate, and the person is actually not a graduate. So I have this is student and is graduate, true and false, right? So let's try printing this. If I say print and I say students, if you notice what I did here is I'm trying to print along with students. So that's why I put the student within what? Within quotation. So it's going to print students and then whatever comes after the semicolon, the quotation here. I will now say comma is student here, right? So I have this. So I also want to print if the person is a graduate. So I will now say graduate, right? Graduate and a comma, and then I will call the variable is graduate. So we save. So simply Control L to clear your terminal, and then you run the code again. So as you can see, it's showing the text and also what the value of this variable is student, and also the value of this variable graduate. Okay, all right, so now we can also try to find out what type of data is stored in a variable. So now let's try to find out the type of data that are stored inside these different variables here. Okay, so let's say print. So we use a special Python keyword which is called type, and then we open bracket and we put the variable. So here our variable is age, right? So I want to find the type of data that is stored inside this variable age, right? So if I should save this now and clear my screen, all right, so and run the file, and then as you can see, it shows the class, which is what, an integer. Okay, so we are going to talk more about classes later. So this is an integer, so it means the type of data stored in this variable is an integer. So let's check for the others. So if I say print, then type the keyword which is type, and then what variable, let's say name, right? And then print again and type, right? And then what variable, let's go for, is student, right? Is student. So let me clear this once. Okay, all right, so let's run our code. Let me clear the screen and run the code again. So as you can see, it shows the type of data, which is integer for age. Age is storing an integer, and it's showing what, str, which means string, for what, for name, and what, for this is student, is showing what, bool, which means it's a boolean. Okay, so this is how we can be able to find out the type of data that we have stored in a variable. We are going to go deep into all these things as we advance in this series. Okay, and one thing I forgot to make mention is variables are case sensitive. So now that we have age is equals to 10, here if I should print it, if I should say print age with capital letter A, GE, then this will give us an error because it is considered a different variable. Okay, so now if I should save this and let me clear and then run it, as you can see, it says what, age is not defined. Did you mean age? It means this age with a capital letter A is not defined. So but if I do something like this, A, now it will recognize this. Okay, so if I should clear the screen and run it, as you can see, we have 10. So variables are case sensitive, even though age with small letter a and age with capital letter A is still age, but what, Python consider them as separate variables. Okay, so you have to be very careful when naming your variables. Okay, so now I believe you all understood what variables and data types are, right? So now I have a small challenge for you. Create a program that stores your name, age, and hobby as variables, then print a sentence like, hi, my name is your name, and I am dash of age, and I love so thing. Okay, if this helped you understand variables and data types, give it a like, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe for the next video where we'll explore operators in Python. Thank you. Till we meet in our next session.